to this, huh? This is exactly how it's supposed to go. So let's talk
It
about
is
the fact
exactly how it's
that
gonna
I
go.
just randomly put myself standing in front of the camera with nothing else for a minute. Also, to everybody, I just spent the last 20 minutes logging Tom out of his regular email and all of his devices because somehow I got logged out of the Death or Glory YouTube. So I accidentally kicked him out and then relogged back in, and all of my settings are jacked up. And I mean, it's pretty much just a standard day, I guess, for me and electronics. We did have a
Yeah.
Discord meeting yesterday, and one of the quotes was, Brad, have you never used the internet before? How do you not know this? And I went, so, on that note, I'm Brad Chester. This is Brian Horton. How goes the day, my
How's it
man?
going?
Uh,
My day's going fantastic because we are getting ready for our big event this upcoming weekend. The terrain is packed, the mats are packed. We are looking good to go, and it we were able to. I got to give credit to Zoobs for helping me out here. My second in command and my chief in line sometimes. We got it down with that fold flat terrain to where we have 7 totes full of terrain.
Noise.
And it is 60 tables worth of terrain. It's absolutely fantastic. So it's going to be rocking and rolling.
I'm pretty excited, man. We as with a lot of 40K events, we had about 3 people set up to be in the tournament, and now we have 100 and something. So who knew?
I, that's one of the things I don't know if it's this year, but I've noticed with a lot of the 40K events, I'm like, "Hey, there's only like 20 people for that event, and then I look the next week and I was like, oh, and now it's 90.
You
I
know,
was like, okay.
I want you to talk about a couple things. First off, hold on, I gotta click some buttons. Hold on, everybody. Click. No, that's of
All
course
right,
not
so
even that's not even remotely centered. But I will make it so in just a moment. So we have a paint competition going on. Not only do we have the regular paint competition going on, but Runeforge Painting, ta-da, is doing a paint competition also for single model squad, large model vehicle, and open. We have had all of the fun skis getting shit ready. Also, we're gonna have a
I mean,
stream. Oh, it's going to be on the 40K Lorecast. We'll have on the there my YouTube. Jesus, I don't even know where I am right now. We'll have we're gonna stream it. The Canada guys couldn't show up, which makes me a little sad. But I said, hey, they aren't coming. They're having some issues, crossing the border, blah blah blah. And then John goes, I want to have a stream, and then just got streaming equipment. And I go, so you're gonna get streaming equipment. It'll show up at your house maybe Sunday, maybe Monday, and you're going to figure it out. He's like, yep. I'm like, this is going to run like a dream. Also, on Friday, I'm running the stream the entire day, apparently. So, what could possibly go wrong, guys? What could go wrong?
sounds fantastic. So absolutely going to be a fun time. And of course, this is the first variant of this event with us solely in charge of it and running it. So it's going to be a good time. Luckily I have a lot of experience running events, so we should be
What?
good to go. Uh, but if people want to show up on Thursday night and give us a hand because you're in the building, by all means, we'll be there. Probably after 6 o'clock at night, getting everything set and getting all the tables up and running.
KR will miss you, buddy. If you guys get a chance, show up on Thursday. I'm going to be there fairly early. You guys are planning on 5-ish, I think?
Yeah, we should be there probably a little before that, but
Yeah, but we'll be getting set up.
my goal is to be there at 5. By the time we get there, get unloaded, have a beverage, you know, because before you set up, you need to have a
I
beverage
was
because
just
then
gonna
you don't get
say,
another one for a
Kramer
couple
also
hours.
said that he is bringing whatever we want. So I need your order on that.
Yeah,
Mine's pretty easy.
Kramer, This is not hard, Kramer. Vodka, ice. Yay.
the I'm pumped though. We've got a lot of people. We've got you. Do you know what? While we're here, do you want to talk about the mission pack and why you chose certain things, or do you want to skip
um,
that? I just you because
so
you choose different stuff. Some people had an issue with it. I think it's fun because
so
I'm so
the
tired of
reason I
playing
choose different.
only on GW1.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I've gone to a lot of events and I've run a lot of events over the years. And I'm not going to lie, we are at the absolute very end of this mission pack. Please
Yeah.
try a different table, at least for one event. That's part of it. Number two, you don't have to run only GW lettered missions. Believe it or not, you can mix them up. And I
Heresy.
do this. I do this for a couple reasons. Number one, it keeps things fresh and gives you a little more interesting things to do. Also, if I'll fully admit that I've probably played, GW Layout 2, GW Layout 1 several hundred times at this point, and I would like to play on something different. I thought other people would enjoy that as well. Uh, and it's nice to try different things. I give I give credit to the old crew from Du Bois who mixed things up quite regularly, and I like to do the same thing. So
I but hold on, I have two things. One, my brain just got exploded by Labor A Tour E Red Rum Room. Dude, that is that took my breath away as far as a name. Uh, but let's talk about the new pack
okay,
because
so this is I can talk about this very straightforward. As a retailer, because I run a retail store, for those who don't know, I would assume most of you at this point have heard me say something about the art store at some point in time.
what
Uh,
you're in
we
a
couldn't
store.
take we couldn't take pre-orders for mission decks because GW, when I went, I'd like to order 125 of these. They went, you can have 12, and I went, excuse me.
Is this going to be worse or better than Pariah Nexus? Because Pariah
So
Nexus, remember,
my
actually was Leviathan worse than Pariah?
Leviathan, they had that printing error, so that was annoying, but they did recover quickly from it. Um, my GW rep said that this is a regularly stocked thing. They should be back in a few weeks. It was just a short on the initial order. The printer did not get them their full allocation.
Because I thought
In
it was.
in response to that, as a good TO, I'm going to use what All Is Dust did when the Pariah mission deck came out, and go, hey, guess what? I'm going to try and make everybody just at least a flippable deck that'll be able to be used for events when I can. Clearly, the decks just showed up today for us to look at and to even look. I'm for Salt City, which is in August. I'm hoping they're in good supply by then, but if not, I'm going to make sure there's a way to make people's tournament experiences more happy.
Because we spent
Um,
it was Pariah,
the
right? That we spent like the
Yeah,
first year with almost no one having packs.
they did one reprint of it. It came around a second time once. Initially, I knew how mission decks worked. I ordered a ton of them off the get go. We sold like 100 and change of them in the first week. I was very happy to have them, and then it took like 3 months to see them a second time, and then I never saw them again. Um, so yeah, they were really bad at getting pariah decks out. So we thought for sure they would fix this one, but as of today, the answer is they're going to be limited at the get go. Uh, if, and this was a big if they had hit and the supply was amazing, I told Brad this, I told John Barsani this. I was just going to I was going to order tons of extra ones and bring them to the GT and go, hey guys, guess what? New mission packs. Here you go.
Yeah, I mean
Um,
all of the yeah.
yeah, but that didn't happen. It didn't work out that way. It's not the end of the world. The nice part is there is Tabletop Tactics who puts a mission deck together, although I personally like the cards better than an app. We'll see where things progress.
Whoa, we gotta give
I don't
we gotta give
I
Psycho
don't think
Barsadi credit. So
yeah.
I said I wanted to have some paper mission because that's how I like to keep track. when I'm actually
Yep.
focused. The app's fine, but like just having it right there helps you play. You can put notes to yourself, blah blah blah, everything. So I say that I'm like, hey, I'm gonna get some printed out. Barsati goes, nah, I'm gonna get one printed out for every player and laminate them.
Oh, the scorecards. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Because one of my big things, and this is as a TO and judges, hey, we were writing down the score and then somebody skipped something and I forgot this. And I'm like, but if there's an official scorecard at every table, makes it way easier. So
yeah,
Bersani took it a step further than I was going to do. I was going to be like, hey, let's just print some sheets and, throw scorecards down and people can use them. Go. He was like, nope, going to laminate them. And I'm
right.
like, awesome. I think that's a
And it's
great thing for
cool.
Bersani to do for every
I
table.
like it though. It also means that I'll have multiple laminated score sheets instead of throwing my normal ones away later. So
Yeah.
I can leave one everywhere I travel. Dude,
So
Hunter, I'm telling you, the app is fantastic, guys. It's a great way to track your games, and I like it for that. But like for me, it lets me know what secondaries are left. I can leave notes to myself for command phase, especially if you're somebody that bounces around armies because they have the attention span of a newborn baby. So I need to write down stuff to remind myself. I just like it a lot. Also, whether you're using the app, using paper, whatever, you and your opponent at the end of every round, make sure you both agree what the score is. I know that sounds super basic, but I can't tell you the amount of
it's
times that shit
it's
has
not.
gone down around.
So people on the new deck as a judge, I'm gonna waylay an opinion on that until I officially see everything that comes out when it comes to that. Points, balance update, tournament companion, all those things go into decisions. I'm going to hold mine full opinion on that until it hits. If you put a gun to my head and asked me my opinion today, I'd be like, "Ooh, I don't really like the challenger mechanic, but not having played it yet, I don't know how good it is or how bad it is for the game."
I I've played it. I've
And
played with it
that's
just a
where
little
I sit.
bit, just dicking around with it. Um, it seems a little too easy because a lot of games are very have small uh differential in the first place.
Yeah.
It feels very
Um,
easy. Like I said, I've barely played around with it, but it does feel like you're just going to make up if you're 6 point down, you're going to make those up with a quickness with those. Also, somebody tell me what it says on this. Are those like independent points? I mean, I obviously you can only get 50 and 40, primary and secondary, but where do the challenger points go?
uh, if my brain is remembering correctly, it you can only get 90 points total,
Yeah, but it doesn't say where the
and
challenger points go. I think
those
they're
points
untyped.
fit into where you have the room. Yeah, they fit into the where you have the room, whether it's
Yeah, that's
secondary
what I
or
thought. I
primary.
thought it's so secondary, but my only problem with that is like it's an easy comeback mechanic in certain missions. I mean, if you're playing one of the ones where it's very easy to get primary, like you're playing the ritual or something, then you use the challenger ones and you're down, and you can come back pretty quickly, and your opponent can't pull more away if you're both capping at 50. You
I
know,
I think that from everything I've read and just math testing things, it seemed like the challenger mechanic when you're going second was a little bit too strong because you can kind of mitigate being down
yeah,
a
like
little bit on
well,
turn
you're
three
also
and four.
that's my whole thing is like if you're down by 6 on turn 3 and you're going second, you almost always if you're going second, you always have that 5 plus minimum points that you're making
Yeah,
up at the end of the game because you get an extra objective, your opponent can't do anything about it, and you're already going to score those points. So if you make up those 6 points with those challenger mechanics, going second in a lot of the missions is as long as the game you're not just getting blown out, you're almost like just I feel like it's an auto win at that point in time.
again, this is one of the times where I can go. I'm waiting to see where everything falls from the GW uh, tournament companion that will come. I want to see if there's terrain layouts, how they have the missions set and everything along that. So it's one of those things where I'm gonna full reserve judgment until that drops. When all that drops, absolutely, I'll have an opinion after
What
divulging
about
and going
the
through
the
every.
secondaries that they've changed so far? For instance, they got rid of containment. which is a very easy
Thank
6 points, is gone.
Yep.
I do like that they brought back tempting target, and
Yep.
I kind of like the I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head. The one where whoever has the most people in the midboard, no man's land, and you can't
That
score it on turn one. I like that quite a bit.
so far, the changes look fine to the missions. They still have punt the football, which I don't understand why.
Yeah, just dude,
And
it's like a dead. I think they're doing it for just like hilarity at this point because no one runs it. So I think it's just a running gag at this
it,
point.
it, it could be amongst them, but GW does use it at the GW Open. It's I don't know. I again, I'm gonna full reserve until everything comes. I like some of the changes. The fact that Mark isn't there anymore because that was just annoying. Uh, in all honesty, it was just an annoying thing because it was almost always a pitch. We'll see where it falls. I gotta the point scoring on a couple of things changing up was really nice. Uh, I will be happy to see a change because, as we've always said, I like change. It's good for the game.
Oh, I'm super
But I got
psyched
to
about
see
it.
it in I got to see it in practice, and I got to get some games in with it.
I think they did better. The new secondaries are mostly the same, but I like the changes quite a bit. I like the fact that
The
they also put mercy points on Marked for Death. They put mercy points on early game engage, so you just get a point for just standing in your two quarters. I do think that's a little bit of a trap, though. I, if you're playing someone that generates a CP or something a turn, it's not a trap. Just take your points wherever you go. But if your army doesn't give you CP, throwing one victory point feels like I'd rather just have the CP and make that victory point up somewhere else.
some instances, yeah, I
Yeah.
agree with you.
So no, but I do like the fact that you can put them on there though. It also makes those super tight games really eke out now because now Mark for Death and Engage aren't just dead if you don't want to move somewhere.
Yeah,
It's 1 point and 1 point because Mark for Death still is a trash fire. You know what I mean? Especially early.
it's. I mean, it's better now than it was. I say throw it away, and it's not as bad as it was. But drawing a turn one marked for death seems like a not for all armies, but for a
Yeah,
lot of armies, it's nigh
sure,
impossible.
but the thing is that Eric makes a good point on it. I do like I like the fact that you get a point for killing that scout or just putting it on one of their uppy downies. You have an option now. You know what I mean?
Yep,
Because you get to choose one of their things. So like a lot of times they're just going to give you that point if it's a big unit that they want to uppy downy. You know what I mean? So
yep.
I I I like the changes that they made. I don't think the secondary packet's perfect, but I do think it's better than it was in Pariah. In I think it's significant. I think they're forcing more action. They took away Containment was a great secondary, but it's a secondary that gave zero interaction. It effectively
Yep.
said, you get 6 points, go. And they replaced it with two more objectives, secondary objectives that make you interact. They at least make you come into the mid board. And that's where all the action happens. And I like that though. I don't want every secondary to be murder everyone kind of thing, because then I just don't want the game to be just about killing. But you have to make decisions. It's not just this is obvious. So I like that quite a bit. So it's
I,
a big deal then. Oh yeah, recover at the end of your turn is
yep.
nice because you can actually. I like it a lot because that's a bigger deal than just you getting free the 3 points, because now it actually gives you the threat of scoring those 6 points. Where you run
Mhm.
into your opponent's deployment, your unit's going to get killed, but then you have to make that pros cons. I'm losing a unit, but I'm gaining these points. Is this worth it? I like that. You get rewarded and or punished for making those decisions. Sabotage is the same as it always was, Matt.
Yep. I think we may, and this could just be me. I think we're going to see some more interesting tournament formats come out of this because depending on how GW lays out their missions and everything else, you may actually get to see tournaments that go, okay, I like this, I like this, I like this together. Okay, it's not one of the GW letters, but I think it's going to work for us.
They just murder you for a second here. The hell just happened there?
Apparently, There we go.
I was like, what the hell just happened?
I think we're going to see some more interest. I don't know. I think there's going to be some more interest depending on everything about not just using the letters
Um,
uh, for
I think it's a big
missions.
deal. I mean, missions are the biggest thing, but I do think that the secondary deck is a huge. You know what I mean? As far as what you can do with that, you can force
Yeah.
engagement, and I
But the
think that they've
even
done more of that.
yeah, but the even as big of a change in the meta as the tournament deck is going to be. Well, we just got 4 new Chaos books, right? And a fifth one that is a couple weeks away with Chaos Knights.
Chaos is
So
strong.
I mean, chaos. I mean, everyone said, "Oh, they're not going to do a summer of chaos." Well, man, they banged out chaos, and I mean, granted, yeah, we're getting a little space wolf in there too, but hot darn, are we getting chaos hot and heavy? And it's changing the meta because you have to be able to deal with T9 these days, as we were,
Well, let's
you
go
know.
down because I'm gonna throw my 15 cents. I don't even give 2 cents. I give 15, yo. It's all still
Ooh,
pennies
big
though.
money.
I make it rain. Ow! I make it hail actually. There you go. So out of the chaos books, I'm very excited for new codexes because I think they did a very good job with the chaos codexes of giving them flavor. Also, GW unhook Marines from one main book. With the chaos,
Gotcha.
I love the fact that they restricted the units that certain people could take. It makes it easier. I'll give my number one. Number one, not in power level, but just in my how I think they did. Emperor's Children is the best in internal balance on that book because they took away a bunch of the long range shooting. It's a very fast army. It's a very powerful army. Hits super hard, but it is very elitist. It doesn't have trash units to hold back and to screen and stuff like that. So you have to make a lot of decisions, but it plays and feels like the lore, and I like that a lot. It has a lot of decision making with a lot of 18-inch guns and or melee gun, melee power. So I like it quite a bit in the fact that it's high risk, high reward, really feels Emperor's Children with units running in YOLO solo because of the army rule itself. Trying to get that full. Again, pride was the downfall of the Emperor's Children. I think that book did the best in giving you fairness. I guess it's a super strong book too. Don't
I
get me wrong.
it's a super strong book, and I think it captured the feel of Emperor's Children very, very well because it's very elite, very focused on them. Uh, it's a little weird that they didn't get some of the units that you would have just assumed they would have gotten that were classic heresy era stuff like Vindicators, Predators, and so on and so forth. But I kind of like that at the same time, where it's like it is focused very much on, the Emperor's Children themselves and less on other things. Like Death Guard's great because they got a ton of detachments, a ton of really good versatile units, but they still have all the Chaos Space Marine generic stuff that they've had in their previous books. I'm a little surprised by that when looking at the
I'm
Emperor's
happy at
Children's
it. I
books
was
that they
surprised
didn't.
but happy though. I like the way they did that.
Yeah, it made them it made them all feel unique. Like, hey, look, they still have this stuff. The Emperor's Children have evolved beyond, uh, you know, their Imperium days, where it feels like the Death Guard and the World Eaters are holding on to little bits of the Imperium
Yeah, but yes and no,
technology.
because what do you want to go into for? You want to go into Death Guard? We're gonna do Thousand Suns last. So do you want to go
Uh,
into Death Guard or it was just
Death
us?
Guard's fine to go in next. Death Guard's probably the most powerful of the books as it currently sits. I would assume there's going to be some points changes for them bad boys here.
I
If
mean,
not this week,
just
next.
right now, it's also kind of the easiest to jam up and make a really good army because you just go
Yeah,
three-feathered blow drones with with blight launchers, 5 to 6 mephitic blight haulers, defilers or PBCs, a couple Death Shroud Terminators and some Poxwalkers go. Obviously, you can make the Horde army and stuff like that, but man, 90-point guys that are T9 that fly. Uh, I mean, the Feder bloat drone with the blight launcher is an exocred that's 40 points cheaper that can fly. Oh,
Yeah.
did I mention it could get full rerolls with the Lord of Virulence?
And again, I think it's one of those things of I Death Guard's real strong. Their points are really good. They're very efficient. All the data sheets are good.
Yeah.
I don't think there's one of them where I'm going, oh, that's bad. That shouldn't, that's just not worth putting on the table. I actually think most of their data sheets are very playable. And I just think they're a little too points efficient right now because it doesn't take a lot to fix those points. I think GW is very good at fixing points on things. I don't think they're good at fixing mechanics.
I
But
mean,
I think
they're not good at fixing points when they should have changed a mechanic. I mean, we're going
exactly.
to talk about that right about the time that my Eldar get booted, and
Yeah.
they could have just fixed the Yanari mechanic and not boot my Eldar.
I mean, we'll see what happens with that. Rumors are rumors after all.
You killed Kenny, you
Um,
bastards!
but I think Death Guard's an easy fix. I think that they are a little too easy to just put on the table and not be a skilled pilot and do okay with them. I don't have a problem with armies being that way. I think there should be, but I think the problem is that when you give that type of army to the high skilled players is where it becomes problematic.
Yeah, and I do think that you
Um,
need to go over, and I talked about this a lot. Guys, don't be afraid at the beginning of games. You got to ask those questions. Can you move outside of the movement phase? Do you have redeploy? Do you have fights first? Do you have reactive moves? You got to ask that, man. Like right about the time that Death Shroud Terminators are showing up 6 inches away from you, and or people are just moving away from you with their reactive moves. Also, you know, Zerkers are making an 8-inch blood surge move at you. These are things that you need to know before the game starts.
and that is, I know at one point, Brad, you actually had a printout sheet that you gave everyone to
Yep.
questions to ask beforehand. And I still say that I wish that was publicly available, but you can always contact Brad, and I'm sure
I
he'll for a
I,
dollar give
I
it
just
to
think the thing is like you get it down to a science though. Like you just ask those
you.
questions over and over. It takes less than 5 minutes, and then you
Yep.
don't have these weird moments in the game where you feel like someone got you to, or there's a weird it just you should be playing the game, having fun with your toys, and winning or losing. You can bitch about the dice. Those are the most fun things to talk about, right? When you're having a drink and you're eating your sandwich, for lunch, and you're talking about somebody making 10 and 11-inch charges, and you couldn't make a save. I love hearing what happened in the
I
game.
mean,
There's the huge ups and
I think
downs.
one of my favorite judge moments of 40K is somebody going, "Can you come here and look at these dice?" And I'm like, somebody's complaining about somebody's dice being fixed. And I walk over to the table. Dude's like, dude, I had to make 16 2-up saves. Look at my dice. And I look down and I see 14 ones. And the guy goes, sometimes dice be dice. I just wanted somebody else to see it. I couldn't stop laughing because the guy just was like, it was funny. I wanted to share with somebody. So,
I love it. I still have that. This is forever. This is another old man stories. Rose and I played. Nick Rose and I were eating with Sean Naden the day before LVO. This is, I don't know, 8, 10, 50,000 years ago. And I'm playing Eldar. And I go, I feel super confident. I've been on a pretty good roll. I'd won a couple things right before that. And I go, as long as I don't play you, Rose, I should be fine. He was playing GSC. I should be fine. And even if I play you, I still got a good chance as long as I don't play on that ridiculously heavy board. So I immediately, round five or six, I play Rose on the GW stream table. If you remember the old GW stream table, it had those 18-inch tall with by
cargo
24
crates.
inch. They have the big giant can't see through. And I play that. I fail. It's a real number. I fail 5 4 or less inch charges to surround all his chimeras that he was running with the GSC. And then I go, hey, how many attacks does that one Abominant Lord have? And he's like, blah, 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 this. And they all explode on sixes, just like this. He rolled 5 Yahtzee sixes. And then went to roll my saves, and I rolled 20 of 25 ones. And I was just like, that's enough for me. We just hugged it out. And then, you know who my first call was? Kramer Doyle. Man, I was watching that stream. Your dice were terrible. Kramer, I'm still standing at the table. I'm well aware. Give it a second. Give it a second, man. It's a funny story when I'm not still standing there. It's like somebody walked up and punched me in the face and went, "Remember the time your nose was bleeding because you got punched? Yeah, it was right now, man. There's still blood on your hand." You got those tales, KR? Zoobs. His table do. Yeah, but where was I going with this? Who knew?
So we're just talking about chaos. So like we think Death Guard's the strongest codex, right? We're in agreement on that currently because it's the easiest one
Well,
to
I
build
think it's the benchmark
and
though,
pilot.
because
Yeah,
we're at the end of 10th, which is basically the end. I'm not saying 11th is coming out tomorrow. I'm saying this is the benchmark where we start.
we're a year away from 11th
Right.
coming out. We
And
can be honest and look at that.
right. But the thing is in the last year, we're going to get codex creep. We just are. Not everyone's going to be a big dog, but I think that Death Guard is setting the mark for what your army has to deal with when you come to a tournament. You don't need to tune up your army because again, never chase the meta, be aware of the meta, but you have to be able to take down a decent amount of bodies plus what is Death Guard putting out? 3, 6, 11, 13, 14, like 14 plus T9 bodies right now and then that might change of course with their points, but between that and knights and the rumors that they just showed the knights, if knights get cheaper, you're again talking about 13 to 15 T9, T10, or more bodies that you need to be able to take down. Now, and then you have to couple that with, oh yeah, there's several horde lists that are doing really well right now. So you need a
And
volume plus that.
I mean, you look at certain weapons getting rapid fire and blast tell you that they've made some universal choices. Um, it's one of the things of I think Death Guard's a nice benchmark of this is where I think power level is going to sit for a little bit. But I also think that like the World Eaters book, in my opinion, got a little more interesting. I actually think in some ways it's stronger, in other ways it's weaker. But you're not gonna. It has more builds now, even for what was technically a shallow codex on the number of units it has. There is a lot of very interesting builds there with some different detachments that you can have some fun with.
I actually, again, I think the Death Guard did really well with flavor again. That's why I'm super excited for new books because I think they did all four of them. I think they did a good flavor job. And yes, I'm a lore nerd. That's one of my main things that I do is lore. But I I want to get a good feel for an army when I'm playing it. You know what I mean? I want to enjoy when I'm playing, and I think they did a good job with all four of them. Death
Yeah,
Guard's the one that I think is might get hit just because I think that it feels as easy to put down a Thunder army as it does
mhm.
because of the fact that it's so cheaply pointed. You could just put so many holes on the board right now. It indeed is
I
the
just
lore cat. Uh, you do know about my
and
cease and desist with that, don't you?
no,
Sorry, it's I saw the lore cat, and of course I'm squirrel, so shiny object. Um, we put all the merchandise up. Go to my store on the 40klorecast.com. And I have the lore cats because I can't talk because English is hard apparently, even though it's my only language. Uh, but we got a cease and desist from GW. And I was like, well, they don't like us putting up the AI merch. Nope, they didn't like lore cats. They told me not to sell that. Continue. I'm sorry, buddy.
no, I just think it's as you completely just brain was going.
Ha
I think
ha! Mission
that's
successful.
that's okay. I think that all the books is not having played against Thousand Sons, but in one game that was not really a game. Uh, it's the three chaos. Those three chaos books all seem fine. The little things that need to be tweaked in them don't seem like it's going to be, like, oh, it's going to get hit with a hammer. It's going to be terrible. I think it's fine. I think it'll be relatively easy for them to fix Death Guard with some, again, minor tweaks, nothing major. Uh, Thousand Sons, I still have yet to see. A couple friends of mine who play them are very, very excited, who are very happy with some of the combos. It as a judge of it being very early on. That is my mental reading for the next couple nights to get really familiar with Thousand Suns. Not sure how many people are going to be playing it at the GT this weekend, but I want to make sure I'm ready to answer
You
the
know,
inevitable questions
hey,
that will
you
come
know
up.
when you'll get a good feel for it? John and I are streaming a game on Thursday night, and he's running
I
Thousand
know you are,
Suns, and he's basically
and
opening up the plastic as we walk to the table.
and the nice part about that is you will be playing with the new mission deck,
Yes.
full full with the new mission deck.
Wow. So what's the over under on the amount of things we get wrong?
Oh God, you're going to get a dozen things wrong at a minimum. I mean, it's inevitable when you are trying something out for the first time. You are going to make mistakes, sometimes horrifically in your opponent's favor, sometimes horrifically in your favor. You just hope that you are able to catch them and get them fixed right then and there. But there is, stuff happens. It's the inevitability of things. But it's fun because you can always look back and go, "Hey, remember that time when you completely balls to this up?" And you get, and your buddy goes, "Yeah, you're gonna ever let me print that?" And you, no,
No.
no.
Oh God, no. Forever. We should go with the like and subscribe. KR did tell us a couple minutes ago.
He did, but we had to give it 5 minutes before we said anything
Well,
because I would
obviously.
have felt bad otherwise.
Let's go to the next. I think that they out of books they did correctly. I like where they went with World Eaters quite a bit. I like the fact that it's not the same army. I think that there's lots of different armies you can now
You mean
play.
it's not Codex 8 bound anymore?
Well, yeah. Well, it wasn't even just Codex Apon. We ended up with basically a list that said, "Did you bring two knights with it or not?" kind of thing. You know what I mean? It was just the same thing. So I like the fact that you have options, and I think there's a lot of options. To be honest with you, you're going to see a decent amount of things show up at the table. One of my favorite things is, "Hey man, I'm going to wrap your rhino." Bro, my rhino's gonna beat your ass.
Yeah. My rhino is angry.
6 attacks with hitting on threes. You're about to get beat up by a rhino, yo. Like,
That
wow.
rhino got claws.
Yeah. I but I like that though. And they gave him a little bit of shooting, the Forge Fiend, but also they made it so that the Forge Fiend's significantly better if you get it closer. So it encourages you
Yep.
to play aggressively. And I like the feel of that book quite a lot. I still think the Emperor's Children's the my favorite of the well written. Again, not power level anybody, guys. But I
Yep.
like the way um, that they wrote it. I love the idea of the Berserker Warband, still basically the index. I still think that's a huge one. 8 inch freaking blood surge is bananas, man. Couple that on turn, you get the 6 inch consolidate. Ooh, shoe doggy. You know, you've got lots of different units that that you can take now. Love the slaughterbound. Zerks can hit pretty hard.
Mhm.
Rhinos, Forge Fiends are now in the list almost automatic. You can argue a decent amount of stuff. I think they did a really good job, and them as well as Death Guard both have a horde detachment, which I think that as you go on, it feels like people don't start with the horde detachments; they start with all the flashy stuff. I think that both of their horde detachments are totally tournament worthy.
Is it just me or does that the Zangor detachment
I
for
think
T
that
Suns
thing's gonna bang, dude.
bang? And hopefully they all don't have 4-up pinball saves the entire game.
I Yeah, I love KR. I hate T cells players, anyways.
Sorry, it's a joke for Brad more than
Yes.
anything else.
Yep.
Uh,
Yep. And
but
I still remember it. God damn it. Also, they
uh,
also have what 5 inch coherency. Yeah, yeah, whatever.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So I mean, I think that T Suns look really good. I think that the stuff that don't get me wrong, they still put out a very good amount of mortal wounds. It's not an obscenely frightening amount. It's still good. I think it's going to be one of those things where the press your luck mechanic's going to be kind of fun, to where it's like, I failed it, but do I want to take wounds if I accidentally like roll another one,
I
and then
like
it
that.
doesn't succeed anyway?
I do like the fact that they yes, but I like that quite a bit though. You're gonna take that a lot. You're gonna build it into your army, but I like the fact that they're also not a oh I lost a couple units early on. I guess I don't play the game anymore because I lost so many
Yeah,
cabal points from using 2 units. excuse me.
Yeah,
Also, the fact that
if
they're
you lose Aramon and Magnus due to poor dice,
yeah,
which I've watched happen to people,
you're just
and they
done.
go, "Oh, yeah." Now it's like, no, I can still recover. I can still do tons. I still have a lot of flexibility. It's
Also,
very
you're
interesting.
not tied into a 6-inch bubble around Magnus like you were before. So you're
Yeah,
not this small army move. I don't know how fast they're going to be on that, um, but that army puts out some juice, for
it does.
sure.
Overall, it looks like a really solid, fun army to play. I think if you're a fan of Thousand Suns and you like playing your Thousand Suns and you just felt like you were a little behind the eight ball as of late, which is probably true, you are gonna be very happy to be back on the table with them and pushing them forward.
I dig it too. I like a lot of their mechanics. I weirdly I think that the index detachment is probably still the one I lean towards, but that's the one that I'm probably the most comfortable with. To be fair,
And KR, I'm not going to tell you what I'm drinking right now, but it's definitely not moonshine, but it's in the same wheelhouse.
all of the stuff, baby. Get the mason jar going. You know what? I'm bringing up the Tennessee story on this. I wish you were here for this one. This was almost a Brad's going to challenge Brian to drinking story. So Brandon Valley took us in. He took myself and the Swedes, and we all stayed at his place. And then we went to, I can't even remember what tournament we were going to, ATC. And he took us to tastings. All of the different distilleries have where they give you 6 shots of different whiskey. Now the shots are slightly smaller than regular shots, but you're still doing 6 shots per place you went to, and this is 11 in the morning. I mean, it's we're doing this tournament. I go, Brandon, I love having a drink as much as anybody, but if you keep taking us to these places and we keep doing lineups of 6 shots, I go, we're not gonna make it past the afternoon, buddy. Like we can only do so many of these, and there's a
so,
million of them around there. There's like
so
all of these
Brad,
places.
if we can get you up here early before Salt City, like a couple days early, we will take you on a wine tour where I will make sure you don't walk by the end of it.
Challenge accepted. Also, Mike, taste of found booze. Look, I tasted it as it was getting thrown down my gullet. But actually, some of them felt bad that we were just pounding shots of them because they had random ones. But then you found the ones that were super tasty, and you're like, I would like to actually drink this one as opposed to just hammering 6 waves of 6 shots. So, whew, but it was a fun time. I love places like that. Also, they had a pirate. I'm still mad that I didn't go. They had a pirate live action dinner show, and I was like, I need to go to this,
Yeah.
especially after I've had a million
But
shots.
so we got a little taste of seeing that the Chaos Knights are coming next, right? So we're
I'm
3 weeks out from their
terrified of
release.
these guys.
I I like that the limited edition box set, which they announced, is it's just War Dogs and variants of the War
Yep.
Dogs.
I just think that if they
Uh,
make these guys have a little bit more oomph and if they make the points the same or cheaper, you're looking at 14 plus bodies on the board, man. Night bodies?
I mean,
That's a
number one,
lot.
I'm hopeful. This is where I get to be hopeful that they're gonna make it so having a big knight or two on the board is a little more essential for the army, because right now I know when you see Chaos Knights, you're fighting Book War Dog. You don't see a Desecration or whatever the hell their
Desecrator.
crazy names are. The Creators and
Rampagers.
Abominants and all that, Rampagers. You don't see those on the table.
I-
You
you
see
know,
War
can
Dogs,
I
right?
jump on my soapbox so I'm almost as tall as everybody else? Hold on, I'm gonna say something else after this. Let me get on my soapbox and then I'm gonna bitch about my height. So I hate the fact that knights show up with just knights. Knights are known, even the Chaos Knights, because they grab a bunch of people with them, though the cultists, like the Imperial Knights, show up with, they should look like Bretonians. They have full heraldry and bannermen, and they should have a ton of guys with them that are all the people that
And
are in charge of basically
and
the
I'm going
upkeep
to
of the knights.
caveat this where this is where Brad's going to make someone who just likes playing big models
I
all upset.
know, but I'm saying that's the lore of them, though, and but I think it's a cool lore because they
I,
have noble houses. Is their whole
it would
deal?
be it would be awesome if the Imperial Agents and Knights books were rolled into one, because man, it'd be so much more fun to have, you know, the hangers on be in the book and be Imperial Agents and see all that other stuff in there at the same time.
Uh, Now I'm going to tell you my height annoyance story. So, uh, I was telling you the other day, and I was like, "Hey, 5'6". You're like, "Yeah, sure you are," on a box. And I'm like, "I'm going to prove to Brian I am," because I had one of my many doctor appointments, and they actually they wanted all of my actual real numbers. And I've been 5'6" my whole life. Apparently, I've shrank. And my doctor, by the way,
Wait,
this particular doctor is wildly shorter than me and apparently wanted to be petty. I look at my height. I am now listed as 5'5.98". I'm like, come on, man. I'm already a midget. Why?
so I sent Brad a video of, this is what happens when you give a short person an energy drink, and it was quite hilarious. And he was like, "Man, I'm not below 5'4". I'm 5'6". And I was like, "Yeah, but you've shrank,
And
so that
dude,
makes it
it was
even
2 days
funnier."
later. Literally 2 days later. And I showed it to my son. He's like, "I'm taking that from you. I'm taunting you with the fact that you're 5'6". I go, "Not technically." I'm like, "Really? You guys decided that I was
I
0.98?"
mean, and the funny part is, some of your best friends, we are all
Oh,
significantly taller than you.
yes. I
Some people by over a foot.
Well, the funny thing is, I was telling somebody, I go, I never know how tall anybody is because I go, I judge everybody's height by what angle I look up at them. So that's all I know. Ah, hey,
And
wildly shorter, not possible. Actually,
yeah,
he's a tiny dude, man. I'm not gonna say anything. He's a pretty awesome doctor, but he's my electrical guy for my heart.
I
Who
mean,
also gave me my favorite. So I had a recent thing done. I'm coming out of recovery, and I try to ask him some questions, and I'm pretty lucid. And he just goes, but he starts the answer, goes, "You're not going to remember this anyways. We'll talk about it in your appointment." Just deuces out. Answers absolutely nothing from my procedure. It's just like, yeah, whatever. You're. This is a waste of my time. You're all groggy. I'm out. It's like, what the hell just happened?
so I always like to go, when it comes to everything to do with our aging that is happening to us beyond our control. Is one of my friends was like, I stood up from my chair and heard both knees pop, and I took a step and my knees popped again, and he went, "Are you just falling apart?" And I went, That's a tough word to answer. Falling apart would be the appropriate term."
For 8 or 9. Yeah, I'm not doing that. But I'm
So the fun part about this upcoming weekend is we do have the Lorecast Major with you and I. And of course, Brad will be doing some streaming. Myself, Zuber, and Little Brian will be judging. It's going to be a great event. We are 12 people away from signing up for the event. If you are on the fence about coming, sign up today. Come play with us. Have a good time. Have some beverages on Saturday night and sit around and listen to Brad, Zuber, myself tell
tell old
massive
people
amounts of
stories.
crazy stories, um, and have a good time and eat some food, hang out, play some 40K. Do our normal fun of complaining about GW and yelling at the clouds, because it's going to be a good time.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing is this is hopefully going to be recurring. And I mean, I'm already declaring it's going to be recurring. So we're going to be doing this every year. This is the first annual. So I'm pretty psyched about it. And I want it to be the event. We also have like a bucket of prize support, which I'm super excited about. So
And did I tell you what Army Painter sent us?
I did not.
Oh, Army Painter's fantastic. They were like, "How many people do you have your event?" And I was like, "Well, it looks like we're going to have about 120." And they were like, "All right, here's a paint to give one paint to everybody."
Nice.
And I was like, "Oh, that's awesome." So just for showing up, I mean, not that Army Painter paints are super expensive, but you get a free paint pitched in
uh,
with what you're doing. So it's kind of
we would
nice.
have had even more stuff, but two of the bigger things, and we're gonna have to have them shipped, the winners, got caught in customs. So apparently, sending prize support for 40K in paints can get you banned, and they held it at the border. Yeah,
Yeah, there's some good fun going on right now in the world. So
yeah. I'm just like,
we're just going to leave it at
whatever.
that and keep moving on.
Yeah, it was just funny because like
Uh,
one of my buddies sent it to me. Uh, thank you, Mark. He sent it over to me. It's just like I thought he sent me a summons. I'm like, what the hell just happened? He's like, no, that's the note from the customs saying that this big thing is not going through. We're gonna have a lot of stuff. I'm giving away uh, one of my favorite things, and I love you've done this so many times before. I like to give away awards, just random awards. I'm going to give a lot of round awards away. First person to get tabled, first person to achieve whatever. Uh, but and also make sure that other people get prizes. You did this a lot. I love it. It's one of my favorite things. If you go, Salt City, you go to Du Bois, I recommend them ton because you also give tons of awards away to everybody. I hate when like three people get a cartload of prize support and leave and everybody else just stands there and watches them. They already won. Give them a pat on the back and tell them to get the
yeah.
hell out of your way. you know, it,
So that is one of my big things is I like to, and this is a thing that was started by a group out of Buffalo that is semi reactive as of lately. But Beef and Wing did this thing where they were like, "Hey, we give out the average Joe prize, which is a really good prize. It's normally part of an army to get you going." And I've done this with the 13th Legion ever since, where the guy who comes in dead in the middle overall, which means he put some effort into the hobby and he tried, but he came in like if there's 100 people, he came in 50th. He was the middle of the road guy. He gets a prize because you stuck it out. You went through, you did everything, you painted your army, you came in the middle, but you gave good effort. Here's something for doing that. I love those kind of things.
100%. I just like the. I also like just giving random prizes and stuff where people stay around because nothing is more sad than an awards where no one's there except for the people that know for sure that they won something. It's just you want everybody to be around to get stuff. It'll be exciting. I don't know. That's big for me. Also, it feels like more people bail than used to because of that. We used to have huge, and again, I'm looking it through with my rose-colored glasses on. But
Mhm.
everybody used to hang out forever and get other stuff. So I'm in like Flynn, brother. I just risked my
Absolutely.
brush in a glass of Pepsi. Fucking Zooms.
Oh man,
They-
I'd like to say I've never done that, but I've definitely done it with coffee on more than one
It's
occasion.
funny because you guys have scarred me so badly from that I specifically, when I'm painting over at Sniggs' house, I make sure that I'm only ever drinking out of my Dr. Pepper Zero 20 ounce because if I
It's why
drink,
I have now like
ah,
not to promote a Citadel thing specifically on the channel, but I love this little paint cup that they make, and I have my jug of beverage, we'll call it, off to the side because those things are needed to be separated.
yes, that's what I'm saying. I've watched too many people take sips of paint water before, and I'm like, oh, it's not happening to me.
I will say the worst one I ever did was I was painting some brown. I had a cup of coffee there, both in coffee cups. Picked up the paint water and did the 3 slugs of paint water before my brain went, "Hey, that's not coffee."
You're like, ew.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, uh, if we discuss the meta this week, which we'll do in like 30 seconds, there was 11 events this weekend when Nids are the highest win
All,
percentage faction on the weekend,
all I'm,
where there was only 379 players on the weekend and it was small. It was just a little event this week. It was just a little event weekend this weekend. I think with everything going on because you know uh, coming off a holiday weekend in the U.S. It was a longer than normal month because we had the 5 weekend month that happens on occasion. Uh, we didn't get a ton of events. Not that that's a bad thing. I'm happy to see that Nids won an event,
all I'm
but Death
saying
Guard won
is
4.
data slate's coming out next week. We're gonna have to
Yep.
nerf NIDS into the ground. Everything goes up 20%.
Yeah, I know they're on the entirety overall win rate is not so great, but hey, hit them
Look,
hard.
man,
Make the
good
make.
one good weekend's all I need to nerf that.
you
Look at my poor
know,
Eldar. Good win rate, no event wins, probably get punted into the sun. Leave
I
my
I
elves alone.
I think I think if they do anything to Eldar, and I've said this and I will continue to say this, is you just have to fix that one movement mechanic from them.
It's the Unari
If you
rule. It's ridiculous. Break that.
if you
Leave them alone.
fix that, lower the points on some of the things in their book, and they're fine.
Ugh. Just blech. Blah.
I mean, it's one of the things. I still think it's funny that Kroot Hunting Pack and Assimilation Swarm had the 80% win rate over the weekend,
Oh,
which
dude.
I find
I don't know if Randy's lost a game yet with that. Well done, Randy.
that
I
that
told you at the beginning.
Kroot.
We talked about this. I
Oh yeah,
said the
absolutely.
Groot detachment, and I said all those rampagers and stuff were just gross, and it's just a hard army to play because it's a million models. He put that on the board. I've never seen people in teams look so sad than playing that. It's like, hey, the joke was, "Hey, neither of us are gonna have a good time. I'm gonna
Well, I
grind
mean,
you out."
and I'll continue to say this: 5 wound models. It's a break point that's really weird,
Well, it's also
right?
the
Because
heroic doing mortals. Also, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Whew.
yep.
All of the
There's
ooh.
and the nice part is I've watched him explain because he's been on stream enough now that you could have caught one of Joe's streams where he does take all the time in the world explaining to all his opponents all the things he has that could be considered gotcha, which is very good etiquette. And he explains it to everybody, and people still go, "Ah, shit, I forgot that." And I've watched him go, "Are you sure you want to do that? Remember that I can do this." And people go, "That shouldn't be that bad." And then the rampagers whack them, and they go, "Oh, yeah, that was worse." So, and I said it, and Brandon, I think, screamed at me would be the best way to put it, not with screaming, but with actual just saying I'm wrong. That I thought that the Kroot Hunting Pack would end up being the strongest detachment out of that book, and as of today, I stand by
what?
my statement.
I said those
So,
dudes are. I'm like, it's just the mass. It's funny because Drew.
well, you do that and the Krutox Riders together.
Yes, you take
It's
six and 18 plus all the crew plus the stupid lone spears and shit. Like
yeah,
full rerolls with crude is just
and
gross
you're
too.
still backing that up with some hammerheads or sky rays or something in that vein of firepower.
Just take
It,
all
it's
bros, dude.
it's tough.
All bros.
All bros is tough. It's a backbreaking thing. I've played all bros armies on multiple occasions. Not the easiest thing to do in the world for 5 or 6 rounds.
Love it.
Uh,
Brandon is Canadian now.
super
That
fun.
is true.
He is 100% Canadian now. Yeah.
He's not even real Canadian. He's Nova Scotian. Bring it all, bros. You can only bring all bros if every one of your models has a barbed wire tattoo on each and every one of them. That's how you roll. Let's make some predictions for this weekend. What faction? Give me the top 3 factions at the, and I have to do this because I make fun of everybody's tournament because I never remember anybody's name. At the Brad and Brian Deathmatch 2000 40K Lorecast Ninja Assassin Arena. What are the top 3 factions? Who's 1, 2, and 3?
I'm going to go Death Guard, Space Marines, and Thousand Suns.
I'm going to go.
Not in that order.
Yeah.
But
I'm going to go World Eaters, Death Guard. I'm going to go Chaos. I'm going to go the Chaos Trio. I'm going to go Thousand Suns, Death Guard, World Eaters. A lot of good
I don't think
players
that's
bringing
outside
those.
the realms.
A lot of good players playing them. They're very strong armies.
Absolutely.
So, on that list, Queen's Wave us out of here, bro.
Absolutely. And I just want to promote one thing.
Yeah, 100%.
Although we have the event this weekend, sign up for the Salt City GT, thesaltcitygt.com. We will be using the new mission pack via Heck or High Water. So keep an eye out for a lot of announcements coming for that. I will have the player pack done probably in about a week, and we'll be ready to go.
Until then, later, Gators. Queen's Wave.